All right, so just a recap since the nice half of the podcast has finally returned, the good-looking half of the podcast is finally back.
Hey.
We didn't get to really cover this, so I think we'll maybe start with this as our little bit of an introduction, which is Hot Streak Sunjay here going on a 2-game heater, rolling in a Big Ten. What did you spend your Pilon-based money on this time?
Better be something good.
Oh, it was something good. So, I got something when I got Barron. When I beat him, I won the bet. I got something to remember the Edmonton Oilers with. And so for this one, I was like, Pilon's a big Leafs fan, so I want to get something to commemorate the Leafs with. And so, I buy a lot of movies and whatnot. So I was like, okay.
Oh God, is it the Love Guru?
So it's so I was like, okay, let's get me a Stanley Cup DVD of them winning a Stanley Cup, like this Penguins one. When they won the Stanley Cup, I got a DVD. But they didn't have it on DVD, so I was like, maybe I gotta go a little bit further back. A little bit further back to the VHS cassette days, like this 2001 Colorado Avalanche, or this 1989 Calgary Flames Stanley Cup.
Does
VHS.
that have the song on there? Can't touch a flame when it's red hot.
No, that was from '86.
Oh.
Missed opportunity. So I had these two, and I was like, well, I seem to remember that the Leafs won the Stanley Cup, and I remember watching it. I mean, where did they win the Stanley Cup? And then it hit me. They have won the Stanley Cup, and I do see when they won the Stanley Cup. It was when Mike Myers made it come true. He ended up ruining his whole career just to make a movie about the Leafs winning the Stanley Cup. Poor guy. So here we go. I got the Love Guru on Blu-ray. Mike Myers, wonderful, funny man.
How much did you get? How much did you spend on that? $10.
$10. We'll
the
say
full
$10.
Oh God.
They gave me $10.
I thought you were going to pull out like a reel, like a film reel as part of the joke to be like, I bought the film footage from the last time the Leafs won the Cup.
Sunjay, you should have kept that $10 and kept it for when the David Ayers movie comes out.
Yeah.
Like, didn't the John Scott movie? Wasn't that supposed to be coming out too?
Right? Yeah, I'd watch that.
So it's going to be like Disney's feel-good movies. And the best part about all those movies, they end the exact same way. And the NHL changed it so this would never happen again. You can have the same line to end the John Scott movie as the David Ayers movie, as whatever else. Yeah.
Yeah. It was fun, though. Like John Scott making the All-Star game, that was awesome.
So, Adam, it's up to you now to beat Sunjay at a bet.
Do you know what?
It's your turn.
You know what? Last week, there was something. We were talking about it. And I was like, oh, I should have bet you. I can't remember what it was, though.
Hopefully it wasn't on the Flames winning.
Sunjay, if you're smart, you'll never bet him and remain undefeated.
Right? Just go out on top 2-0, baby.
I just
back to back.
And I can't imagine the movie's getting any better. They are like, they went from good, Unhinged was a good movie, to you'll never watch The Love Guru.
That is the question. Are you going to actually watch that movie, Sunjay?
Sanjay and I have watched together when I've gone and visited him some of the worst movies that are probably ever made. We watched Chopping Mall together.
So good.
Chopping Mall is
good.
Horrific. It is so bad, but it's fantastic in certain ways, but it's so bad.
It's so
I showed Shelby that scene where they blow up the one girl's head. Like it's just stupid. It's like so bad.
Do you own The Artist, Sunjay?
What's that?
The movie The Artist?
No, I have The Disaster Artist.
Yeah, well, that's based off.
That's the one. Okay, yeah, and The Room.
The real one though.
Yeah, I have the real one, like The Room. Yeah, I think that's what it's called.
Oh, The Room, right? Not The Artist, The Room.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, not the The Room is hilarious. Like it's so bad, it's so good. But I watched it and I was just killing myself laughing at just how unreal it was.
Oh,
well done. Well, with that, I think we can start the episode. Welcome to Delayed Offside. Well, we start off today's episode talking about the Montreal Canadiens. So Montreal had one of the hottest starts in the NHL, being declared by Sportsnet's Chris Johnson as a juggernaut and Delayed Offside's Barron as a juggernaut as well, and has slowly cooled off. So cold, in fact, that they had to, in order to survive, sacrifice someone. And that came in the form of head coach Claude Julien and assistant coach Kirk Muller. So those were the two sacrifices for this team to move move forward here. We want to talk a bit about the Claude Julien firing and the panel's thoughts about this. Is this the right move? Is he the guy who deserved to go? Was he at fault here? What are your thoughts upon this? We'll go with noted Canadiens hater, Ryan.
Yeah, well, I'm enjoying it right now. I hated it when they were on top of the league or close to it. But I didn't agree with the firing. I thought it was kind of a knee-jerk reaction. Like it wasn't too long ago we were talking about the Canadiens being the best team in the division, and now they're on a cold streak. And, you know, lots of teams go on cold streaks throughout the season, and it just felt like a really quick reaction to fire the head coach. I understand that, you know, they spent a lot of money in the offseason to, you know, bring in a lot of talent, but at the end of the day, I think this still is a good team. They're just in a bit of a cold streak, and I don't think they're as good as they were at the beginning of the season. I don't think they're as bad as they are now. I think they're somewhere in between. They're a great possession team. They're great defensively. Offensively, I think they started off really hot, but like I said, Gallagher's the only 30-goal scorer they have. So it was unrealistic to expect Toffoli and Anderson to be scoring at that pace that they were. And I did mention about the goaltending, Carey Price. He has not played well this year. He hasn't been elite for a while.
You're going to bring that up every day.
He's not the Carey Price that he was, a number of years ago. So, now there is a goalie controversy. There's, at least in the media, everyone's talking about should Jake Allen be taking over. But, I think this team's going to turn it around again. I think they'll end up, in a playoff spot in the North Division.
So what's next for this team now? Since they fired their coach, they brought in a somewhat decorated head coach to replace Claude Julien. I'm blanking on his name right now. Sorry about that, but I am. And he's had some success with like World Juniors and other stuff, but not quite. He's never really been at this level before. So the changes he's going to make, what's next for this team? Like, what are your thoughts on that, Adam?
Oui, je m'appelle Adam Williams. Je la prends de... Well, again, je ne parle pas de français.
He's already made the Russians mad at us. He's going to make the French mad at us.
Jay and I worked together on that one.
Why there's 200 views on your video? Those are the Russians you angered, slowly gaining information about your height.
Trying to find out all the details as to where you live.
They're going to look at his house. They're making plans and missions around it.
This guy, we will let him live a little longer. He's kind of funny. And
if any of you see a red dot just kind of floating in the background of Adam's screen, just shout down.
Yeah.
Baron, Adam, you didn't leave that drink alone, did you?
Yeah.
No, it's
you had your eyes on it the whole time?
Delicious.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I was worried. Okay.
Anyways, what was the question?
What's next with this team? Like, what is their next move here? You fired your coach. What happens now?
Right. It depends how they do in the next 5 games. And then Bergevin's going to try to make a blockbuster trade like he usually does. That's where I kind of see it going. Like he was really happy with the Shea Weber trade with PK Subban. He touted that as his favorite trade. He's not afraid to make moves like that. And we've seen it in the offseason. I think he tries to maybe shake it up. Do you get rid of like a Brendan Gallagher and try to bring someone in to like shake up that dressing room? Because that's a liked player on that team. That's one thing I could see happening. That's my kind of bold prediction.
But is it likely for trades to occur in a market where whoever you trade for is going to have to sit out for 2 weeks? Sunjay?
Well, it depends who you trade with. You see teams like Vancouver and Calgary struggling. Maybe they'll find trade partners in those 2 teams. That Sam Bennett's been talked about on the move, so maybe that could be a fit for him in Montreal, and then you won't have to quarantine for 2 weeks, which would kind of be weird because Calgary's chasing Montreal for that last playoff spot, so maybe they won't trade with each other, but Vancouver's a possibility as well. So I could see it happening, yeah.
So you guys kind of made the point that maybe trades is the next solution, but how long till the solution becomes replacing your GM? You've already gone through a coach. You spent almost $100 million in the offseason upping this team. Like, I know that everyone says there's only one 30-goal scorer, but I do think they have more depth to some degree than what's showing here. A lot of people actually consider Suzuki to be like Pierre Maguire, and take that with a grain of salt. Listed on TSN today that he said Suzuki is an elite player. Like, that's high praise. So it's hard to believe that, but like, what point does it turn on the GM as opposed to the coach or the players being the problem?
Well, in season 4 of Delayed Offside, I had mentioned in a conversation that we had, Baron, that Bergevin is on the fence to get fired. I thought he was, and you were like, I don't really remember how the conversation went much, but I do remember bringing it up. And like, how many moves can you make and your team stays mediocre to not good at all, and still maintain your job?
This is one of the points, Tony, I think is Marinara. I'm not 100% sure on that, but he's a TSN for Montreal, and he was on Jason Greger's show. And he talked about, if you look at Julien's record, it's actually really, it was quite terrible the entire time. He never actually took this team. They never performed very well under him. But if you look at it, whenever coaches get fired in Montreal, it has to do with Carey Price's save percentage and how he's doing. And I guess the question becomes too, is Carey Price partially to blame at this point? Is he likely to rebound?
I would say so. I still have enough faith in him. I know Pilon doesn't, but I still think like there's something in there. It could be as well the team in front of him. Like, he's not playing in front of a great defensive team right now, and so maybe the shot quality is high. And if you went to a team like I don't know,
Sunjay, I think they're great defensively. I think they have some great defensemen. Like, when Mete can't even get in the lineup, you're pretty deep on defense.
Okay, yeah, no, fair enough. I honestly, like, I haven't seen too many Montreal games, but I do know, like, they haven't been good for a while, and so it is kind of weird how Carey Price's save percentage is like a roller coaster, goes up and down, depending, on the year.
Okay, guys, now that Adam's gone, we can finally say what we really think about him the entire time. Which one of you has been watching his video in loop to try to get the numbers up? Ryan?
Who has to have the puke bucket beside you during his videos with the motion sickness?
I have like 6 accounts commenting on it. That's just how I roll now.
No, they're good. They're really good. The last one did really well for us. Getting back to Montreal, I just want to quickly touch on the GM question with him feeling the heat. I think it's pretty obvious he is feeling the heat, and I think that's why he made such a quick change too. Because with it being a short season, he can't really risk this team not making the playoffs after spending so much money in the offseason. And Carey Price, Shea Weber, like some of their main core pieces are getting up there in age, and really their window is right now to win. So, I think that's why he made this quick change with the coach, hoping that it'll help spark the team and get them back on track.
It's funny, like Adam mentioned the Shea Weber trade, and honestly, at that time, they were getting like lauded for that trade, how terrible that trade was. Also, I think it's funny, you can see Adam moving back and forth on the reflection of his coffee thing. It's kind of adorable. But anyways, like that was considered to be a terrible trade that they lost it. Now over time, they've won it. But honestly, after that, it was like one of a series of bad trades at the time is what it felt. And Bergevin survived it. But at some point here, I think, you go all in, things go bad, it's a little bit tough to kind of wrestle with that. At some point, it becomes you're essentially culpable for your team. And I do wonder if that's coming quicker than later now, the way things go. But I also wonder, like Montreal had a soft schedule to start. Once their schedule got harder, their numbers started dropping.
Yeah, they played Vancouver like 7 times or something, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a big part of it, right? And we're all kind of saying now, looking, I mean, even though they're spanking the Jets, Vancouver is basically heading closer to being done in the North Division here. Yeah. So you have to kind of wonder here if when the schedule gets a little bit better, if it does, I'm not even sure that will actually turn things around and they'll do better. The solution for Carey Price, what are your thoughts there, Sunjay? How do you get this guy back to being good again?
Back to being good again? Maybe he just needs a fresh start. Maybe it comes down to that. I bet you he has some pretty good trade value.
You think?
I think people would take a chance on him. He's like a former. He won the Vezina, right?
Maybe Edmonton will take him on.
Well, apparently, I read on there's a site called Spector's Trade Rumors, and he just takes newspapers and lists them all. It's really good. I think it's Richard Spector that does it. It's a really cool site. Every day he's got different rumors. He said Edmonton was one of the teams interested. How are you going to take on a $10 million contract?
10.5, and it's for this season and 5 more years.
So 10 million for 5 more years at a sub 900 save percentage.
Yeah. Like that's tough to take.
That's a hard pill to swallow. You don't get out of that. If you gamble on that and it's bad,
you're gone.
You're
and
done.
Your whole franchise is set back for 5 years.
Yes. That's a very big gamble.
Well,
so I
maybe
don't know.
Florida has Bobrovsky. Maybe they'd make that 1-for-1.
Can you do a buyout?
Would you make that trade if you were Florida?
Well, I mean, Florida's doing really good right now, so probably not. And they're
Florida's not doing good because of Bobrovsky.
No, but he has that huge contract. And who do you think's more likely to rebound, Bobrovsky or Price?
I would have said Bobrovsky, but I don't know now.
We finally returned to Adam thinking we're important.
Oh, he's here. Okay, we have to stop talking about him.
I had a phone call. Sorry.
Yeah, we know. It's okay. We could see you walking back and forth in your Paul Coffee.
It was with his
after his 200 hits on his latest video.
He's like, get me out of here. I'm starting my own
amateur hour.
He's got his agent on the phone.
Get me my own
YouTube channel. Get out of this
the lighting is terrible podcast. On me. Who's doing the makeup here? Give me a new.
Get me Dangle. Dangle, you think this is funny? This is what I want.
I want my own trailer, damn it.
Here's a solution. Well, here's a potential. What if you ride Jake Allen? You ride Jake Allen, and what you do is for the next little while, you practice with Carey Price. You work on fundamentals and everything else. Because honestly, if your solution is for him to play through, you're going to take some losses. And is that really what you want to do at this point in the season?
Well, they're in a playoff spot right now, and Calgary and Vancouver is not looking like they're going to catch him at this point in time. Ottawa is looking like the most likely team to catch him right now. So they have some space to play with. Like they have a little bit of cushion for that 4th playoff spot.
Fair, but it's dwindled as it is already.
Well, and you got to turn it around. Like ride the hot hand at least for a while to get some wins back. Mm-hmm. And the other thing I would say is with them going cold, like the one complaint against Julien that I saw a lot from fans on Twitter was the fact that he loved to roll 4 lines, and he played everyone close to equal amounts. And that was the complaint I had against Babcock when he was in Toronto is, when you need goal scoring, start playing your star forwards 20 minutes a night. So instead of, rolling the 4 lines, like play Toffoli, play Anderson, play Gallagher, play Suzuki, play them a lot and try to get as many goals as you can and start to turn this thing around, right? Stop rolling the 4 lines.
All right, we're going to take a switch here since we've spent more time on Montreal than we probably ever thought we would. But OEG has put up essentially they're putting in a file, a form, their
petition.
That would be a better word. They're putting in a petition to try to get fans into the stadium here in Edmonton to see games, potentially by the time playoffs come or just a little bit before that. Is this the right time for that kind of move? And would you guys go?
Well, it's very much the right time for Kenny.
It's always the right time for that guy. Would I go? It would depend to see if Calgary, what precautions they put in place. If I would go, it's the Saddle Dome's a big place, and if they were only putting in say 1,000 fans or something in a stadium that holds 20,000. And obviously masking and social distancing and hand sanitizer stations were set out. I'd probably check it out. I'm not going to lie. If I deemed it worthy, but if they were just full bore, 100% capacity, then I wouldn't check it out, obviously. So I'd have to wait and see. But I'd have no issue going in if they had put in the proper precautions in place.
Right?
I wouldn't go, but I'm just more of a cautious person in that sense. Plus, I have a newborn at home, so I wouldn't want to risk that. So that's just the situation I'm at. In terms of them doing that, it's hard to say. Like Sunjay said, depends on the safety protocols they have. I mean, my biggest concerns would be the concession area? How do you enforce the distancing and lineups for food, for the washroom as well? How do you keep everything sanitized? That type of thing. Are they going to put in some sort of, the air purification system to make sure everything, the air is pure that you're breathing and everyone's not cycling a bunch of COVID air? It would take some work on their part to make it safe in my eyes.
If you went to a game and you got to go to a game after all this stuff and whatever, they had hand sanitizer, and maybe they had a new ventilation system, limited people. If you have to go through all these precautions and maybe distancing, entering from different points, so forth, would the environment still be fun? Would you still have an enjoyable time at that game? Adam, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think you would, especially if it's your team, right? If I were to go to an Oilers game, I'd still be invested. I'd still be interested. It would still be intense. I watch on TV and I still have the, even though there's no crowd there, I'm alone most of the time and I'm into it. I'm on the edge of my seat. I actually think it would be more engaging and less distracting without a ton of people there.
A drunk person falling on you in the middle of a game and spilling a drink on you.
Spilling drinks.
Let's be honest. We've all seen that happen.
You. No, exactly.
You could be that drunk person.
And no usher coming up to you saying sir, can you sit back? Can you sit back in your seat?
Oh yeah,
give me
about that.
I'm gonna tell you. No. I'm gonna be honest.
That's happened to me twice.
I got hecked for that before too at a game, but I'll tell you, when someone sits forward in front of you, it blocks the entire part for you. Depending where your seats are, it does cut your line. But it is annoying. You're right.
But it doesn't. Where Pilon and I were sitting at Rogers, the people in front of us were sitting on the edge of their seat, leaning forward. We could see everything perfectly.
Stuffy Edmonton crowd, man. Jeez.
I've had people do
that.
Made
me mad.
Well, they were kids too. It wasn't like an adult money. They were telling.
I paid good money for those seats that are in the nosebleeds. Get off your high horse. Let me watch the game. And that's the thing. There were kids. They were kids. Ryan, 8 to 10? And they're sitting there and they're pumped up and they're cheering. They're tiny, right? This usher comes up and he's like, sit back. I told you to sit back. And I turned around because I was irritated by it. And I said, you guys paid good money for these tickets. You sit however you want.
Don't paid money. You want to spit on that guy? You want to light something on fire? Do what you want.
Super funny because the
kids. Don't worry about it. We're not even watching the game that much anyway. The kids are in our beverages here.
But the thing is,
beer, son, while you're here.
The thing is, they were
paid money for it.
They were deflated. It ruined their experience for 5-10 minutes. So that's when I turned around. I was like, this enough is enough. This guy's being a dick. So I just said, you paid good money for this. And you could tell their dad was looking at us mm-hmm. Yep. And I was like, you guys have fun. Have fun.
You are right though.
What are you going to do? Kick a 10-year-old out?
My first hockey game I ever went to live that happened. I got in trouble for that, and I remember that more than most of the other games. That and the guy beside me was the biggest pessimist, and he just complained Oilers would win, we'd be up by 2 goals. And he's like, they're just gonna blow it. I'm like, man, you paid how much money to go to this game and sit here and just complain about them when they're winning? Shut up.
I think we had were we at the same game? Because I was there at my first game too. It was Taylor Hall's rookie year. I'm sitting on the edge of my seat, and this guy seat. The guy taps me in the back. He's sitting way back, and he's like, "Sit back."
Oh, that was the guy behind you. It wasn't the security.
This was at it was the guy behind me the first time. It was at Rexall. And then
that's what happened to me at Rexall too.
And then this woman, two seats over from me, was sitting by my brother-in-law, and she's hugging her purse. She looks pissed off to be there. And it comes out, she's like, Dustin Penner, that useless bag of pucks. Just
some people are it was so crazy.
Yeah. Oh,
his stories from in Edmonton are nuts. How he was.
Man, it seems pretty crazy there.
No, your brother got in a fight with a guy for saying racist stuff to him in the parking lot. Crazy stuff happens. Honestly.
Yeah. Things get heated, man, especially when it's a battle of Alberta. It's things get heated there.
Yeah, what are those games like, Sunjay?
What are those games like?
Nothing
in the stands.
Years.
What are those like?
They've been
tell about the last one. Tell about the last one, Sunjay. That's a good story.
The last one, yeah. Well, I mentioned it on the last show. Was I went and unbeknownst to me. Well, first off, we get there a little bit late. We're running to get there. We just sit down. We just make anthems, and the Oilers score like that. And I'm like, great. You could tell it's gonna be one of those days. And everyone around us just erupts and starts cheering. And I was like, what the hell's going on here? This is Calgary, right? we were in the Oilers section, like fans everywhere. There was like a bachelor party behind us of Oilers fans that had made the trip down to Calgary. Rowdy as all heck, like just like crazy, giving it to me. You know, I mentioned like telling me like cut my hair and stuff like that. And yeah, man, they're like pretty mouthy too. Like, you know,
was it all in good fun though, or were they like really?
Those guys were in good fun. Those guys were in good fun. But there was one guy in an Oilers jersey, and he had like a red "Make America Great Again" hat on, just chirping every Flames person he could find. And he must have been like $110 soaking wet. Like he was just like a scrawny little guy, and he was chirping like these big guys. And I was like, okay, like,
like I'm gonna watch a murder in the stands. Like I don't need to see this. I gotta go home. I don't need trauma.
Yeah, but like it's all in good fun. Like every team has like a different set of fans. Like the one fans I was really amazed of was Ottawa. I went to a game. And Ottawa, I got nosebleed seats, and you wouldn't think there'd be a ton of Senators fans here in Calgary. And Ottawa wasn't doing particularly well that year. Calgary was doing okay, and the nosebleeds were all filled with Ottawa fans. Like I had never seen it. I was so amazed. I was like, what? Like I don't know if just like no one cheers for the Flames when they go to Flames games. It seems like, but I was surprised at the amount of Senators fans at the Flames game.
They don't go to games in Ottawa, but they go to games in Calgary.
Yeah, maybe that's where they all are.
Yep.
I bet you tickets in those nosebleeds at Calgary are cheaper than anywhere I've ever seen. Especially if you buy them online. Like I paid $15 one time to go see a game.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, I got nosebleeds.
Oh, yeah. Wild versus Fire.
Sunjay, when this is all done, we're all coming down to Calgary for a game, and we're going to crash at your place.
The best is when they get
it before the new arena's built, because when that new arena's built, it's not going to be
pricey. Yeah,
yeah.
No, you're right.
I remember getting tickets for when Jágr signed in Calgary, and I was like, I got to see him at least once playing for Calgary. And it was against Carolina, and I paid I think $12 a ticket for nosebleed seats.
What?
Unreal.
I had no idea tickets were that be that cheap in the NHL.
But only in the nosebleeds and like the press level. Like you'll walk down to go to the bathroom and you'll run into Kelly Rudy. Like I'm not even kidding you.
Yeah,
that's
like
awesome.
that last time we went to a game where you were there and your brothers, he was walking by. I remember running and see everyone was taking pictures because your nephew got a picture taken with.
Oh, I was drunkenly ran into Sean Burke one time when they were playing the Coyotes. I was like, Sean Burke, and he was like, hello.
Hello, sir. Thank you for your support.
Yeah.
Just perfectly straight. Yeah.
Like Adam, like you and I were in the nosebleeds, weren't we? Like we were pretty close to the top, and that was $200.
We were shaving $200.
But that
was Leafs,
right?
Leafs Oilers.
Oh. Dude,
I could reach out. An Oilers game,
I could reach out and touch the banners.
I don't want the new arena. Then stop building that new arena. Saddle Dome's fine, okay? $15 tickets.
The two things that'll jack their tickets up: one, new arena, and two, if they're playing Leafs or Canadians.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, Leafs tickets are expensive. They are expensive.
And Penguins. Penguins too. People used to pay a ton.
Washington.
Washington. Yeah, Washington.
I got to see Washington. I think I paid $120.
That's not bad.
No, and I was.
Where's that though?
That was in Rogers in Edmonton. We were in the lower.
Oh, nice.
Top of the lower.
That's not bad.
It depends like when the nights are and how the team's doing. The team's not doing good by a certain time of the year. Nice and cheap.
Yeah.
Your team's in it. Not so much.
No.
That's the price you pay.
Becomes a rich man's sport at that point.
Even
it always is.
Always was.
Yeah.
Even playoff tickets in Calgary, you can get for nosebleeds for like $45 a ticket.
Jeez, are you kidding?
Wow.
Unbelievable.
You just you got to sign up at like Co-op, and then they like put your name in a draw, and they're only like $45 a ticket.
Do they still have the Sport Check Family Fun Zone?
That was back in 2004. They don't anymore, but back in 2004, there was no assigned seating. So you would just get there early, and you would race as soon as they opened the door, and you would get to the press level because there was no assigned seating, and you would like just find a seat anywhere.
For that section or for the entire arena?
In that section.
For the whole nosebleeds, yeah.
Okay.
It was
it's like Pilsner Place or whatever, and
you have to climb so many stairs. So many stairs.
Bring a gas mask because it's like.
Well, since we're talking about old things and stuff. I don't have a good transition.
Good transition, Baron.
Note to self: work
you
on
wrote that one
transitions
up
for
and
next
practiced
episode.
it all day. I can tell.
Yeah,
I worked so hard to get the viewership up. God damn it!
Well,
we have a level.
We saw you practicing walking back and forth in between. You're like, I just need to get my energy going. But Mike Babcock, out of all the places people thought he was going to land, has ended up at the U of S, getting a degree in doctor, I guess. No. So he's decided, even though he first got offered it and apparently was like, there's no way in hell I'm doing this. Slowly it was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. So he's taken a job at the U of S at the CIS level, where he has a very impressive record, taking Lethbridge all the way to the finals and winning against the Golden Bears. And now he has a chance to kind of take U of S, which has always been a perennial contending team, but never actually gotten over that hump, and often loses to Alberta, the U of A, when it comes to these kind of tournaments. He gets a chance to take over that team. He's got a 2-year term with that. Is this a smart move for him? Is this a smart move for them? What are the benefits? What's the drawbacks here? Why is this happening? What are your guys' opinions on this option thingy stuff? Got to work on transitions.
Seems like he's trying to restructure who he is, and this might be the only offer he's gotten, right? He is back in Saskatchewan. That's kind of home. Maybe that's where he wants to be. I think he's trying to polish up his image, and if he wants to coach, I don't think there's a coaching job on the table in the NHL right now. So he's got to play himself and prove himself better.
He was one of the finalists for, I think it was Washington when they did their interviews, but he didn't end up with it.
Right. Yeah, you would have to think there wasn't a whole lot of offers coming his way. And I agree with Adam. It's a chance to prove himself as a coach and hopefully repair his damaged image from when he left the Leafs and all those stories came out. But I don't know if he's going to change, Adam. Like, I don't know if you heard any of those interviews with Sportsnet or the Rod Peterson show, but anytime Johan Franzen came up, he didn't really. He did. Yeah, he like I expected. Like I didn't realize. I apologize. I need to do better. Yeah. Something like that. It was more so like I reached out. He didn't get back to me. I'm a good guy. Players that I coached have hired me. So like something doesn't smell right here. So I don't think he thinks he did anything wrong in that area. And so I don't know if he's actually going to change the way he does things.
It's messed up because doesn't he have like a degree in sports psychology?
Couldn't tell you.
Don't know.
Everyone just blinked at the same time when Adam said that. They were like,
that's a hard question, sense. Adam.
Yeah. That's not in the notes.
Take a look.
Look it up.
I do think it's interesting though, like when you think about it, Babcock, when all these things came out about him, the stuff with Marner, the other stuff, he never did actually address any of the media. He just sat silently and took a lot of flack for it. And then I think now, since that interview with Washington, where it kind of came out, and there's still some flack there and some thoughts on him, and his opinion of him has changed a little bit in the league, he's kind of had to go on the offensive a bit because it's tough. Like I imagine it would be tough in his position as and I'm not really like feeling sorry for him, in his position where they've won gold medals, they've won Stanley Cups, they were like one of the highest paid coaches in the league. And now when people hear your name, to only think of that negative part of what you've done lately. And the U of S gives them an opportunity to do things like work with young kids, try to motivate a young group and do hockey in a different way, or maybe a more grassroots way.
I'm wondering if I'm a athlete at the U of S for the hockey team, knowing that Mike Babcock is coming in, like how intimidated are those kids? Number one, it's an NHL, one of the winningest NHL coaches in history. So already you'd be kind of starstruck, intimidated in that sense. But then to know that, he caused an NHL player depression, mental illness by, verbally abusing him, allegedly, I'd be a little nervous if I'm playing for the U of S.
Honestly, I think I'd be excited if I was a player. You're getting like top quality coaching. They had one of the best CIS coaches, but they could never get over that hump. That guy's been coaching there for forever. And you bring this guy in who knows stuff. He's going to give you a different look on the game. He's going to help you in that way, because honestly, he's going to be under more of a microscope at the U of S than probably he was there. I think it'd be tough for Babcock though, because who honestly, like, you're going from working with people who are high level athletes, professionals, so forth, to people who, played in the SJ for like 2 years before they decided to go CIS route or some other kids. But I think this will actually be a huge boon for the U of S in the sense of funding. One of the things I talked about to a player was that one of their biggest issues was they lacked the funding that the University of Alberta does when it comes to their hockey program.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so
CIS
Mike
is
Babcock
just-
has a degree in physical education and also did some postgraduate work in sports psychology.
There you go.
So he was
There you
using
go.
that and abusing that. No, I'm kidding.
Well, it's interesting because CIS isn't like what you normally think about when you think about like high-end hockey, but the hockey there is really good. I know they're always playing like the World Junior team, like a team of like University of Canadian All-Stars. And to my knowledge, like the university team normally wins. They beat the World Junior team. They're a little bit older, but you don't quite think of it because not a lot of players make the NHL because they are a little bit older. But
Yeah.
I think the hockey quality is top notch, and I think it's higher than like the WHL. So I think he's going to be right in his element, and it's a nice little way to play his way back into the NHL because you could go to the KHL, you could go to Europe, but with COVID going on and around the world, he probably doesn't want to leave Canada. And going to the States, he probably same thing, right? He'd have to quarantine for 2 weeks, and who knows? So this allows him to stay in Canada, stay at home in Saskatchewan. I think that's where he's from. So
Yep.
Well, the man has millions of
Saskatoon boy,
dollars
right?
too, Yeah.
yeah. I mean, yeah, he does have a lot of money, but I think his ultimate goal is to win the Stanley Cup again. I think he wants to coach in the NHL again. And as you mentioned, Adam, rehabilitating his image and saying that, hey, I can work with young kids or younger kids.
Yeah.
I think everyone's at least 22 in the university hockey, so they're younger, but they're not like 16, 17-year-olds.
Well, and I was on Twitter looking through Mike Commodore's tweets, and he's like, one of his tweets was those poor boys.
Yeah.
He's not alone in that view, though. There's other
No.
hockey players that have that same opinion towards him.
Yeah. Well, if I'm a parent of one of those kids too, am I worried for my child's mental welfare as well?
Well, it depends on that generation too, because if they're an older generation that's like, that's Mike Babcock, man. I want to
make the show.
Yeah.
You want to be a star?
You do what Mr. Babcock says.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is like a tryout for those kids too, right? Like if he does make the NHL again, he'll probably remember some of those kids, and if they really stand out, then he might give them a shot.
Yeah. Could you imagine, like, Timmy, I made the list for you, so you don't have that pressure on you. I've been watching the past couple days. And here you go. Take this into the locker room, and you share this with pride. Mr. Babcock will be proud. Make Babcock proud.
I will say that's the one thing where, like the whole story with the Mitch Marner incident, when he told his side of the story, I felt a little more understanding of what happened, because when I had read the story initially, they said he basically released the list to the team, like players, multiple. And so in my mind, I was almost thinking like he had like Marner like standing in front of the entire team in a locker room, and he's like, "Hey everyone, like check out this list by Mitchie here," and like he kind of goes over it, right? Like in my mind, that's kind of how he did it. Kind of like a hazing technique or something. So, no. I mean, I don't quite understand how he made the mistake, but I mean, everyone makes mistakes. And it sounds like he just told the one player accidentally, and he apologized to Mitch and everything. So at least, I mean, that one story, at least I could kind of understand his side of the story a bit more.
He read it out to the team.
No, he didn't.
No, see,
at least not according to Babcock, he didn't.
That's the story change that's coming out, and that's what we're saying.
Yeah. So what Babcock, exactly. So what Babcock's saying is he had that meeting with Mitch Marner one-on-one. He had to make that list. Then he had a meeting one-on-one with Bozak, and the list was still on the desk, and he referred to the list. And as soon as he says, as soon as he did it, he realized he made a mistake. And immediately after the meeting with Bozak, he went to Marner, told him what happened, said, "I screwed you over here. Do you want me to address it with the team?" Marner said no. Essentially, that means Bozak probably told the rest of the team. So, I mean, he made a mistake. He admits he made a mistake. He apologized to Marner. And if that's all true, then at least, like, I mean, it was a dumb mistake. How do you make that mistake? But I mean, everyone makes mistakes. It's not like this big hazing thing that I initially thought it was.
But like, do we still need these mind games?
Yeah,
like,
that's exactly it.
Like Mike Keenan used to do stuff like that, right? Like he has those mind games, and people that like were on his good sides loved him, right? Like Mike Keenan, Bob Hartley was the same way. If you're on his good side, you're like gold, but he plays these mind games with the other people, trying to, I don't know, in his mind, trying to motivate them or what, but it's always like the second, third line, fourth line players, right? It's not like the superstars. and the backup goalie, right? So like, do we really need these mind games anymore? Like, is it working? Like, you look at all these coaches' shelf lives, and Keenan lasts like maybe 2 years in a situation. He's not even coaching in the NHL anymore, but like, he won the Stanley Cup with the Rangers and was fired the next year, which is insane. And like, Babcock,
he wasn't fired the next year. He signed a contract secretly with St. Louis.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yes. Well, he was still coaching.
Well, you're wearing the Blues jersey, so you would know.
Yes.
Super fan, St. Louis.
But anyways, keep continuing. Your point's very good. Keep going.
You knocked this train off the track, and I can't get it back now.
Well, much like the Calgary Flames, it's an easy train to knock off the track.
Lord, ain't that the truth these days?
So we're going to take a little bit of a side switch here and talk about something that probably affects coaches, teams, and everything. And that's goaltenders. There's been a lot of goalie stuff here in the news as of late. Not all of it has been necessarily positive. So just a couple instances lately involving one a Flames goaltender and another a St. Louis Blues goaltender. I want to just get your guys' opinions of these things. Ryan, don't cry. It's okay. There you go. Hold it together. What did you think of the Rittich headbang against the door as a sign of frustration? Like, what are your thoughts on that kind of I hate saying that, but like, what do you think about that move? Why would you do something like that?
You celebrate hard, you rage hard.
all the Flames fans were doing it at home, so it was nice of him to do it in solidarity with us.
There's a tweet you should have put out.
Oh my God. So good.
Yeah, he felt our pain. Like, I honestly don't blame him. Like, you look at that team and they left him out to dry, and he was frustrated, man. And should he have done that? No, because you could get injured and you could get a concussion and you could mess up.
Yeah.
Your backup goalie gives himself a concussion and you're in trouble then because your other guy's out on LTIR too. So
yeah, bring in Zagadulin. All right, let's go.
Is that who the third is?
Yeah, he made an appearance after, obviously, when Rittich was pulled there.
Well, the other one that occurred here was Jordan Binnington on his farewell tour to the bin as he punched everybody and pushed people. And what's going through his head? What is the point of that move?
Is he trying to spark his team? That's the only thing. Like, come on, boys. Come on.
He should ask Cam Talbot how that worked out when he tried to fight Mike Smith. Devin Dubnyk is a big guy, and Binnington is not. I don't know, maybe he is, but he just doesn't look big. And I think Dubnyk would have won that fight. So I don't know what he's doing.
Just lost his temper. Just got pissed off. Showed some emotion. I'm shocked no one actually fought him though. After that many times punching players on the way to the bench, I thought someone eventually grabbed him. Okay, that's enough. Let's go.
Well, and it did spark St. Louis. I believe they came back from that after. Did they not?
Yeah, they won it, right?
They did. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of an impressive feat, I just go and shove 3 guys and look like I'm going a little wild, and then my team comes back and wins. Big moves. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I just said that's solid. Good for him.
Can't make the saves. At least spark the team through some instigation.
The only other thing that pops up here is that's come up with goalies, I guess, is today that the Edmonton Oilers picked up Stalock off of waivers from Minnesota, which is kind of a surprise move that he was on it, but their top 2 has been solidified. The rookie seems to be playing really well, and it kind of became apparent that he was the third guy out. What do you think of this move for the Oilers?
I think it's a solid move. You've got a veteran goaltender who put up really good numbers. I believe it was 20-11. I'm not quite sure what his overtime loss record was, but they were looking to find a good kind of veteran goaltender or a good goaltender period to help out when Mike Smith was down, and the roller coaster that ensued there was a massive failure. So I think this is good. It solidifies depth. I don't think they're going to have to waive him. They're just going to keep him on the squad as a third goalie. And it'll be interesting to see where it goes, because he was solid for Minnesota. And then he had the underlying health condition that benched him for 6 weeks. And, that was out of his hands. So, and then all of a sudden, Talbot takes over, and they start performing really well together and kind of played him out of the lineup.
Yeah, Talbot's actually been the backup. It's their other guy that's kind of
Kakinen?
Yeah, I think it's Capo Kakinen. That's kind of
something like that. Yeah,
stolen the number one here, and they're looking dangerous here all of a sudden.
Minnesota's looking good. That Kaprizov is something else.
Yes,
super good.
He really is. That is actually an impressive part of him. How he's been playing. Delon, are you ready to do your little bit of the Northern exposure?
I am ready, good sir. Are we just going right into it?
Oh, I think we're ready to hear your gloating. Sure.
Oh man, okay.
I think and that's it for Delayed Offside for another week. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you again next week.
Well, what can I say, man? I mean, this is the team I've been waiting for. This is the team I've been waiting for ever since they drafted Austin Matthews. You know, it's been a bit of a slow build with the guys learning along the way, some disappointments along the way. But like right now, guys, like honestly, this team is looking like the best Leafs team in probably 20 years. You know, they're first place in the North Division right now. You know, obviously there's still some hockey to play, but I mean, that's exciting. The Leafs have never won the President's Trophy and they've got a shot at it. So that's awesome. And then Austin Matthews, he could make history with the Leafs as well. I mean, he's leading the league with 18 goals. He's hurt right now, but he's still in the lead with goals. And he has a shot at winning the Rocket. And he'd be the first Leafs player to win that trophy too. And honestly, he's having probably the best Leafs season since probably Gilmore. And Mitch Marner's having a great season too. They're 4th and 5th in league scoring right now. You know, I doubt they ever catch McDavid. What's
behind
that?
Who? Behind who?
Yeah, McDavid is way above. I don't expect them to catch McDavid. I don't expect an Art Ross. But it's, you know, you Oiler fans are spoiled with your, you know, best players in the league. The Leafs haven't had the best player in the league in a long, long time.
According to Twitter, you do.
You know what? He's in the conversation for it. I don't see him winning it unless somehow he gets that 50 and 50. You know, I think McDavid will take it, but I could see Matthews winning the Rocket. I could see him being up for the Selke as well. He's done really well defensively. He's ranking among the league leaders in puck battle wins, stick checks, block shots, takeaways, plus minus. Like he's really honed in on the defensive side of the game and put a lot of emphasis on that. And he's hitting, which is great. I see a lot more fire with him. And like I said, him and Marner, top 5 in scoring. The last Leafs player to be in the top 5 in scoring was Sundin way back in 2001, 2002. So honestly, this is awesome. You know, there are some concerns with the Leafs. You know, I'll be unbiased there. The big one is injuries. They can't seem to stay healthy, and a lot of it has to do with some of the older players they brought in, and maybe just the schedule is just too much for them. So I'm wondering if the Leafs should consider doing like you know what the Raptors did for Kawhi Leonard, and you know, give them some days off. You know, if you have a healthy lead in that North Division, you know, maybe you don't need to play Thornton and Spezza and Simmons every single game. I think they're playing like 5 times this week. That's just way too much for some of those older players. So maybe they need to consider some of that. And then I still think the Leafs potentially need a third line center. I think that middle 6, they're just missing one player there. You know, Keefe wanted to go with the Hyman, Kerfoot, Mikheyev line, and they were able to do that for a little bit until the injuries happened. And for the little bit I saw of it, it was pretty impressive. But on that Tavares, Nylander line, no one's really fit in there except for Hyman. So either you need someone there with Tavares and Nylander to get those guys going, or maybe switch Nylander and Marner. I know there's been some talk about that to get Tavares going. Or I would just put Hyman on that line, and I would find a third line center. Kerfoot's played okay, but he's played mostly wing, and I'm not sold on him as a third line center. I know in the Columbus series, that third line was really hemmed in by Columbus, and he was the center. When you're center, you're the driving force on that line, and he's on the smaller side. So in a perfect world, I'd move him to the wing. I get someone else in that third line spot, maybe someone with a bit more grit and size to him. But we'll see. Engvall played really well these last couple of games there. maybe he fits there. There's also Nick Robertson. He hasn't been able to get into the lineup yet. Maybe he's able to fit into the middle six. Galchenyuk, maybe. But I would prefer maybe a trade for a third line center. But overall, guys, I'm very, very happy with the Leafs so far this year.
What about Nylander?
What John Scott was saying today on his podcast about how he thinks that just because it's run and gun hockey up north, that when they actually play against other teams that are better sound defensively or harder to check against and so forth, that the Leafs are really not going to hold up.
I think the Leafs are a better defensive team this year. You look at terms of like the shots that they allow per game, it's way down. They're blocking shots this year. They never did that before. They're actually getting in front of the puck. They don't hit a lot still. They're not a hitting team. Like I said, perfect world, they bring in a third line center who can bring a bit more physicality. I think that would be helpful for the Leafs. But I tell you what, TJ Brody, thank you, Sunjay. He started off a bit rusty with Riley. It took him a while to get used to playing with Riley and their system. But I'm really enjoying TJ Brody on that back end. His stick work is amazing. That stick check he put on McDavid when he tried to go around him was awesome. He's really helped in terms of being able to provide that defensive aspect to that pairing so that Riley can just focus on the offensive side. And Zach Bogosian too, I'm pretty happy with him. The way he can clear the front of the net, the Leafs just didn't have those big bodies before, and players were just able to just park in front and do what they wanted in front of Freddie. Not with Bogosian out there. He gets them out of there, and I like that. So I think they're more suited now for a more defensive game. Now, having said that, I do think that they have benefited from not being in the Atlantic and having to be in the same division as Tampa Bay and Boston. So I'm not sure how they'll match up against those two teams, because those two teams are powerhouses. Do I expect the Leafs to win the Cup this year? I mean, I don't. Yes. To be honest,
I guess, yeah. Sure.
I don't because they haven't even won a playoff round yet. So to go from not winning one playoff round to all of a sudden winning the Cup just seems a bit far-fetched to me. But I mean, if they can make it to the Final Four, I'll be very happy. If they can get to the Cup final, I'll be ecstatic. And if somehow they can pull it off, well, shit, I'm going to be partying for weeks. But I'm just hoping for improvements in the postseason. Obviously, get past that first round, get past a couple rounds at least, get to the Final Four. If they get to the Final Four, in my eyes, they've succeeded this year.
That's a huge step. We're going to take a little bit of a look down south to the US of A, where Patrick Kane scored his 400th goal and has thus become, I think I think he might be the highest goal scoring American player of all time.
Really?
Or I'm not sure if he is yet. I didn't say highest points, but I think for scoring he is.
Like total goals?
Yeah, what's the total goals? Where's he at?
I'll look it up.
I'll say he's number 4.
Okay, hold up.
Oh,
Adam and Sunjay.
I'm not.
No,
betting.
This is just a friendly bet. But let's see.
No.
You have to run
Let's see if I can name him. I think he's number about 4 or 5. Like, I think Brett Hall, if you include him, even though he was born in Canada, Mike Modano, Joe Mullen, Jeremy Roenick, Keith Tkachuk. So maybe he's
ahead of Roenick. He must be.
No way.
I don't think Roenick's numbers are as high as people think they are.
I don't know, man. I think Roenick would be high. I know Tkachuk has 500. I think Roenick's close. I would put $5 on Roenick being ahead of Kane for goals.
Come on, Adam.
Put $5 ahead for Roenick being ahead
of Kane. Yeah, I think Roenick has at least 500.
Yeah,
maybe.
I wouldn't bet against that.
So
because Roenick has 513 goals.
There you go.
No bet.
Well,
good thing.
Despite all the terrible misinformation I put on here, is Patrick Kane the greatest American hockey player?
Do you want to know where he is ranked in terms of goals for American players?
My guess is
7th.
Sixth now is my guess.
I'll say 9.
7th, I bet.
Is 10th.
Ooh.
Would you like me to go through the list?
No.
Yeah.
Hold on.
I kind of do now.
He's 7th.
I'll do it quick.
He's
okay,
7th.
So 10,
He's
Patrick
7th.
Kane. 9, John LeClaire. 8, Tony Amonte. 7, Bill Guerin. 6, Pat LaFontaine.
Really?
5, Joe Mullen. 4, Jeremy Roenick.
Are you just doing scoring, not points?
Goals.
Yeah.
3, Keith Tkachuk. 2, Mike Modano. 1, Brett Hall.
All right, so back to the question. Is he the greatest American hockey player of all time?
No.
Or currently? And if not, then who?
Well, you know what? I think maybe you've got a really good case to say, yes, he does. He's got 3 Stanley Cups. He's been one of the most dangerous wingers of all time, American-wise.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say yeah, especially playing at the size that he's at too. Small player.
I'll say no. I'll go with Brett Hall on that one.
Yeah.
He's won a couple cups. He's done
USA.
the 50. He's done the 50 and 50.
It's because he played for Team USA. It doesn't make you an American. Come on.
It does in the Mighty Ducks movies.
Wayne Gretzky talks to the American team.
Yeah.
Like, who cares?
Well, yeah, but I would
Here's these
say...
2 equal players. We have like Mike Modano, Wayne Gretzky. Same guy, basically. Good point. Mighty Ducks.
Yeah.
Is he or isn't he, Sunjay? Answer the question.
I'll say no, but he's getting up there. For me, it's still Mike Modano. Just like playing hockey. I don't know, maybe kids today look up to Patrick Kane, but kids, when I was playing hockey, Mike Modano was one of the players that you looked up to. He was so skilled, so smooth with his skating and his shot, and he was just an amazing hockey player. So for me, it's Modano. Yeah, that's true. And Chris Chelios should get some love too. The guy played how many years in the NHL as a defenseman? He played for Chicago, Detroit, Montreal, and then Atlanta. So 3 out of 4 ain't bad. But Chelios deserves some love too, I think.
Oh yeah,
I think by the end of this, Patrick Kane will probably be the number 1. And
I would say,
his goal production is not dropped off. He might not be that guy yet. Like to me, I would lean to Modano currently, but by the end of it, I think he's going to have the much more storied career, especially with 3 cups. And if his production, I mean, you look at that team does not have centers. They lost their top 2 centers this year, and they're still they're in a playoff position right now.
Yeah,
and he is still producing.
Good rookies right now. Like that goaltender there is playing amazing.
Yeah, they've had a lot of things go well for them. Like, who loses their top 2 centers and is still just crushing?
No, but you're like Patrick Kane's always among the top point getters in the league every year. Even when like Taves drops off, Seabrook, Keith, like all those other guys have dropped off in production. Patrick Kane's still up there.
The one thing with Kane though is he's got to do it internationally. I don't know if he's done it. He probably I think he won the World Juniors, but like you look at '96, Modano won the World Cup against Team Canada, and like he, some silver medals in there.
Those opportunities don't really exist.
No,
like you're like holding him to a thing that he has no control over. He has no control over.
There was a World Cup recently.
Oh, come on. Like, was that really? Like, who's putting that on their resume? Like,
World Cup's a joke.
Honestly, dude. No, he doesn't even care. He just likes being like, yay, World Cup.
We beat
the Olympics is the measuring stick, right?
The
Olympics is what everyone aspires to win.
Correct.
Right. Fair enough. But I mean, the World Cup used to be something.
Well, of course,
right?
a cup, but I'm talking international play.
Yeah. I mean,
Olympics, like, you didn't win a Canada Cup? Second best American. That's who you are.
Well, no, but if you think of Americans,
Spangler.
If you think of Americans in hockey, their biggest moment was 1980. Now, obviously, the greatest American player didn't play for that team, but international hockey, Americans, that's like when they watch hockey, right? Like the Olympics, if you look at the ratings, it's way above the NHL in
the divide
America.
Between the American team that won versus the Russians in Lake Placid is much larger than Canada versus USA at any level. Now,
right. So I'm saying he has a chance that if he wins the gold medal in the
goes
Olympics,
back in time. Yeah, then he could be number 1. Yeah.
Then I'll put him number 1.
Modano never could do.
Or Taves. Yeah,
I guess Modano never won the gold in the Olympics either, so I can't. I don't know. So, it's kind of a false argument that I have in my head.
Since Patrick Kane is so good at winning, maybe it's time to discuss why the Buffalo Sabres are not. So there's been a lot of drama, I guess, around this team when you think about it. Specifically, they've been scratching their very expensive winger in Skinner. I think 3 games straight. He has, I think, 1 goal. and he keeps getting scratched. Eichel and Hall, I think Hall has one goal as well. Eichel's got a very little for points. And it just seems like there's a ton of dysfunction that is occurring in Buffalo right now. So what needs to happen to kind of right this ship? Can anything be done to right this ship? And what went wrong here? Like, this is a team that's spent $8 million on the top left-wing free agent out there, and he has not produced a single thing.
They need to they need to bring an exorcist into their stadium and get rid of the demons or something, because I don't understand it. I didn't expect this team to be a contender, but I expected them to be a bubble team at least, to get into try to get into a playoff spot. They brought in some big names with Stahl and Taylor Hall, and I was kind of excited for them. Like I said in one of our other podcasts, like, Buffalo's my favorite American team. I like to cheer for them, and it's disappointing that they have the longest streak of not being in the playoffs.
Who's their coach?
Ralph Kruger.
Okay, Edmonton fans in here, how good is Ralph Kruger as a coach?
I would have thought he was much better than what he's currently been.
Yeah, and he was good when he was head coach with the Oilers for the short amount of time he was there. The players really liked him. He got productive.
It was the most positive energy around that team than ever. Yeah. No, but if you remember, that was the highest they'd actually finished in a long time.
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm wondering if it's the coach. Like, he hasn't coached in the NHL for a while. Maybe they just need like a guy like a Bruce Boudreau to go in there and kick some ass and get them going.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that it's not a coaching issue, because you can very well argue that it potentially is. But I'm also going to make the note that if you go back a couple of years, what did Ryan O'Reilly say? He was like it's not fun to play here. Like, I don't even like hockey anymore, etc. It gets a trade, wins the Stanley Cup.
And what was his reason against Barron? What was it that he didn't enjoy?
Well, I don't know.
Just the losing?
I think it was just the losing, but it's like that's become ingrained in the culture, and that is a hard thing to shift. And honestly, the Oilers are essentially the model for what Buffalo is going through, right? You have Taylor Hall. That's your first step. No.
You have Ralph Kruger. Yeah, They're going to get, what's his name back again?
Ted Nolan?
No, the number one draft pick that bolted to the K.
From Edmonton. Yeah. And from Edmonton. Oh, Yakupov.
Yeah, Yakupov's going to sign in Buffalo. He's coming back.
I don't know that he bolted so much as was just not given anywhere else to go. But I do think it's interesting. Like, that culture of losing is so hard to turn. And guys try to do it the same way. They try to bring in winners, Stahl. They try to bring in past guys. But if you look at what's occurred in Buffalo here, they've essentially filled that role with young hockey players. Casey Middlestat was an up-and-coming hockey player. He was going to be a great player. He was highly touted. He did fantastic stuff at the World Juniors. And then he comes to Buffalo, and it's been struggle. And that's kind of crazy, but I think that's the problem. You end up putting guys in these positions where they're not ready to succeed, and all you end up with is this constant struggle. And it doesn't get you ahead. You don't grind over it. It just crushes you.
And you also put them in a losing culture too.
That's what I mean, right?
Yeah, like, it can be tough when every day you come to the rink expecting to lose, and it's accepted by everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's tough too, right? So, like, I know there's been teams where there's players who are actually ready to play in the NHL, but they'll keep them in the minors because the team's just not ready. Like, they don't want that player exposed to that attitude at that time.
Right.
Yeah, and sometimes a young player can come in and he can lift things up, but at the same time, sometimes you walk in and it's like, oh yeah, one guy cannot fix a team, right?
No.
And if you look at Edmonton,
they've
had McDavid for years here, and that culture change occurred with him right away, but the rest of the team, it took a long time to get some of that stuff moving.
Well, I was gonna say, even Edmonton has McDavid and Draisaitl, the two top players, and like, they've taken a while to like turn it and make the playoffs and be constant playoff contenders, right? Like, it didn't just happen his rookie year or the year after. Like, even Crosby, you go back to him, they didn't make the playoffs his first year. Ovechkin, same thing. I think they didn't make the playoffs his first year. So you could have like the greatest players in the world, but it's more than just one player that's got to change it, because McDavid only plays 25 minutes a night, right? So he's on the bench for 35 of them.
That's true. What's going to happen here? There's lots of stuff with Jack Eichel popping up in trade rumors here. Is that a solution? Could you trade Eichel? Who's going to be able to like pay the price?
Is he the problem? That's another thing. Like, what's he like in the locker room? What's he like as a leader? That's a huge question, and it depends what you're getting back for him. You got to be getting something good because it's Jack Eichel.
I mean, last year though, Eichel was in talks for the Hart, the way that he was playing and lifting the Buffalo Sabres for a while there. Like, I mean, he is one of the top players in the league. I think the only way the Buffalo actually trades him is if he demands a trade. I just don't see how trading your star player at such a young age too is the answer. You got to find a good supporting cast around Jack Eichel and build around him, and he's got to be your center corner piece.
You gotta imagine though, if you're trading Eichel, like, how do you win that? How do you win that trade?
You don't. There's no way you can win that trade.
No.
Well, a team that kind of did something similar, I'm wearing their crest right now, was Colorado. Like, they were struggling. They had a ton of good young talent, and everyone said Matt Duchene was one of their best young players. And then he wanted out, right? Matt Duchene wants out. Ryan O'Reilly wants out. They ended up getting rid of both those players, and they've turned that thing around. Like, they haven't won a Stanley Cup, but they are one of the contenders, you would think, this year. If you go back and you say you're trading Matt Duchene, like, this guy is unbelievable, and how can you win that trade? And they traded him to Ottawa, and they got lucky because as soon as he went there, Ottawa went down the tank, and that first round pick became number 4 overall. So maybe you do trade him to a team like on a cusp that thinks they're close, but maybe you're like, are you really that close? So you could trade him to, I don't know, like maybe let's say a Minnesota, for example. We talked about them being hot, and you trade him to a Minnesota, and then you don't take this first round pick, but you take like the next year's first round pick, where you kind of hope that he goes there, and then things don't really quite work out, and that pick gets higher. But yeah, I mean, it's tough to trade Eichel because he's a great player, but I mean, there's precedent of Colorado trading Matt Duchene and getting a heck of a return for him.
Right, but that was a 3-team trade. So, right? Because it was Nashville, Ottawa, and
right, because Turris went to Nashville.
Yeah. So I mean, to get those trades, that lot's got to go. What were we going to say there, Pilon?
I was going to say that Jeff Skinner contract and Kyle Okposo contract. Those contracts are really hurting this team as well.
Yeah, the Jeff Skinner contract, I can't remember who it was, said it was the worst contract in all of sports.
7 years still left, including this year, $9 million per.
Right.
Yeah. Like, who's going to take that contract, honestly?
He's a good player, but I think injuries just took a toll on him, and he's not the player he was 5 years ago.
But he's never been a $9 million player. That year he had an outstanding outlier year, and they overpaid for him.
Yeah.
And that's death, right? Like, in a cap system, that is absolutely death. And now the cap's stagnant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was the big problem. Is he had the one amazing year playing with Eichel, and they thought they had their dynamic duo and signed him long term. And that's the problem when you sign someone long term based off of one performance, right? Like, you need to see it over a longer period of time. There should have been a much shorter contract. Like, if you want to sign big money, I guess do it, but have it as a bridge to prove that you are worth that amount. Don't sign him this long for that length of money or that amount of money.
Do you think they could get Seattle to take him in the expansion draft?
If they
said,
it's too long of a contract.
That would be good though, yeah.
But
does he have a
no
movement clause? Does he have a no movement clause?
He does.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, he has a no movement clause.
You're protecting.
Seattle's a nice city. They're building something new there. It'd be a first year to play for them.
Yeah,
I'm sure he'd love to get out of
great.
Buffalo. You're getting sacked for like 3 games.
His choice. Yeah.
But
I mean,
if I'm
Buffalo
Seattle,
a first round pick.
Like, if you only had a few years to get left, then sure, maybe you take that and get some. But like 7 years,
yeah,
that's a long time to have someone on the books for the kind of production he's going to give you.
Yeah,
agreed. Like, that is a terribly, terribly tough contract to live with, and it might actually end up costing you the player that you tried to build around.
Yeah.
But if you're this early in your rebuild, these players will be the guys traded to get the next set of players to hopefully be that. But they've had some first overall picks, right? They had Rasmus Dahlin, and his career hasn't really done much either at this stage.
Yeah,
you got to feel bad for him.
Well, there was talk.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Peelan.
I was just going to say, I thought he had a fairly good rookie year. How long has he been in the league now for? A couple years?
About 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is last year before RFA. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I was pretty impressed with him, at least with his rookie year, but I haven't really been following his career that well to be able to say how impressive or not he has been.
That back tattoo is not aging well.
Defensemen take longer though, right?
Yeah,
Look at Darnell
they
Nurse.
do.
He's been in the league for 7 years.
Like he's only 20 years old. Like he's got a while to go. It was too bad about Rasmus Ristolainen in the COVID issue he was having, because he was actually having a fairly good year until he got COVID, and it's really hindered his health. Like it's hit him really hard.
Well, there's a few guys in the league who have suffered some side effects from it, right? Like even Stalock, who's grabbed by the Oilers, like he came out today that he was having heart issues from it. James Neal, it sounds like he's having long complications with it. And I can't remember which player it was, got sent back home because they just couldn't get better.
Yeah.
You know, like it's scary.
Yeah. Well, and Buffalo in general was hit really hard this year, right? Like they had quite a few players out, so.
All right, we're going to finish up today with a segment, everyone's fan favorite segment, Be a GM. This is where our panel here takes on the role of a GM and makes questions or answers questions. They don't make questions, they answer them. And for some of these questions,
make decisions.
Feel free to think of it in terms of your favorite team. So for Sunjay, respond as if you were the GM of the Flames. But you don't do it for all of them.
Colorado, man. I switched allegiances.
That's fair. That's fair.
I'm just kidding.
As you tear off your Kiprusoff jersey, you're like, you were mine. You could have been something special.
It's David Abisher in the back instead.
Oh. Woof. That's a tough one. All right. So our first question for Be a GM is, what non-obvious player from another team would you like to have on your team? So we're going to split this up into 2 parts. We say one Canadian team, because that trade's likely to happen or could happen, and an American team, which is less likely. And I can't remember whose question this was on Twitter. We stole it. It was really quite good. So let's start off there with Sunjay.
All right, so for Calgary, I'm going to go with the American team. I don't know if this guy qualifies as like an obvious or like a star player, but I'm going to Washington. It's
not a star player. It has to be a non-star player.
Yeah, I don't think he's a star player.
Okay.
I'm going to the Capital, and I'm going to take Tom Wilson.
I think he's a star player.
You think Tom Wilson's a star player?
Yeah, I do. I think if people keep him in fantasy hockey, he's probably a star player. I also think he's like one of their top 6. I'm not saying you can't take a top 6, but I'm saying I think Tom Wilson's a pretty big name when it comes to.
All right, well, come back to me then.
Does anybody else disagree with me, like on that?
Well,
he's top 6 in Washington. Is he top 6 anywhere else?
Like Washington's not a bad team, Adam.
No, I know. I'm
top
saying
6 in Washington. You're probably a top 6 on a lot of teams.
I know, but I'm saying he's got unbelievable chemistry with, I believe, like Ovechkin. Does he not? Is he not on Ovechkin's line? And Backstrom?
Well, if he's on Ovechkin's line, I guess he's a star player. Then I can't really say anything then. All right, fine. You're going to force me to go pick another.
I can jump to somebody else while you look on your phone. Go ahead, Ryan.
All right. So for the Leafs, the Canadian team that I'd like to target is the Winnipeg Jets. Again, if I could pick a player for the Leafs, I would love to get a third-line center, someone big, someone who hits, someone who is good defensively, who can play on a checking line. I would take Lowry from Winnipeg. Really good player, one of the top hitters in the league. I think he would fit in really, really nice on that third line between Kerfoot and Mikheyev. Now, I hadn't planned for an American team. And so I feel the Leafs are actually fairly good for the first time on defense. I'm pretty happy with how it's shaping up. But if they were to get a defenseman, there is one guy that I really wanted last year. I wanted them to target Connor Murphy in the defensive end there. Young player, again, big and really sound defensively. And that's who I would take on the back end.
Adam?
Oh, wow. If I was going to trade, you said with an American team and a Canadian team?
Yeah, one from each.
Okay. So if I were to trade with a, let's say, American team right now, and we're going with non-all-star player, I would, bring in, and this is because I'm a loyal fan, I would bring it back Sam Gagner. I think his leadership is crucial, and he was a hell of a bottom six player when he came back the first time, and he still hasn't lost that. I think he'd be a good bottom six for us. If I'm going Canadian market, I'm going to go with getting left wing from Toronto. And because he's driven into the dirt, I would take William Nylander. It's a guy that they love to hate. And
he's a star player.
You shut your mouth. You shut your mouth. You talk about him like he is trash.
Already scoring goals against the Oilers like they're the Vancouver Canucks. So
I thought I'd try to sneak that one in there.
According to my dad, you could have him. But yeah,
well, unbelievable.
I like him.
Okay,
I like him too.
Fine. Not an all-star yet.
Ooh.
Tim Stützle. I would steal him from Ottawa to play.
He's
Shut
like
up.
the
That's a star.
Oh, he's a star. Like you pick
You
take Alexander Ovechkin.
See what I'm doing?
Not good. Like,
I'm gonna get this is the segment that's gonna get us the views. This is the
Sunjay.
segment. Anyways, okay.
Go ahead.
Let me
Just
try again.
No,
I get a third strike.
Fine.
I get a third strike.
Fine.
Canadian team.
Jack Eichel.
He's not very good. Look at his numbers.
I'm going to go to Calgary and I'm going to steal Dubé. He's been
Nice.
playing really good. I think he's got high skill. He's quick. That's who I'd take.
This question
Captain
was
Canada at
stolen.
the World Juniors.
This question was stolen from Jackie B _16 at Jackie B _16. That was her question on Twitter. It was great.
Good
Sunjay,
question.
you got your two?
I got my two. Okay, from the States, I'm going to Anaheim. I'm taking Adam Henrique. I think there's still some thread left on that tire. I think he's a good player. He was on waivers. His salary was the reason why no one really took him, but I still think he could be an effective third line player, great shutdown player that I think him and Backlund would mesh really well with. With a Canadian team, I would go to Vancouver and I would take Jay Beagle just so I could all the Flames and be like, so what is he really like? No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't want to subject him to this. I would still go to Vancouver and I take Antoine Roussel. That guy is tough as nails. I saw him fight Iginla one time, and you all know how tough Iginla is. And while Roussel didn't win the fight, he didn't outright get destroyed in it. And that, in my books, goes a long way. So I think him and Lucic, you put them together, and they'd be slow, but, man, you wouldn't want to mess with that line.
Nice. My two from Canada, I would take Connor Brown, who I think is a little perennially underrated, can play up and down your lineup and plays hard. And plays hockey
He
the
used
right
to play
way.
with McDavid, right?
Yes, he
Yes.
did. Yeah. But I think he'd be a great grab. He's a guy that I think they have wanted, but just couldn't really ever get him. And I doubt you're going to pry him loose from Ottawa at this point. And I would go same with Adam. I would take Sam Gagner from Detroit because I think he filled that role a little bit better on the Oilers. And he's got 4 goals right now, plus like one hattie and one goal. I mean, the guy's on fire. Sell him now while he's high.
I remember when he was in with Edmonton, and that was their first rebuild, and he was a really good player in Edmonton. Him and Cogliano,
Cogliano, Tom Gilbert, and Robert Nielsen were the core there at that point.
Nielsen was never quite as good.
No, he was your expendable. If you needed to trade someone, it was going to be Nielsen.
Yeah. Your second question is, what is the number one need for your team currently? We'll go with you, Pilon, since your team is good. You've said third.
I've already said it
competition
3 times.
Competition, yeah. Decent competition.
Very well. Very good, Sunjay. Third line center. I think that's, again, I'm not 100% sold on Kerfoot there. I prefer to have a more reliable, someone who's proven himself in the playoffs at center. Kerfoot plays on the wing more often than center, especially in Colorado. He's been playing the wing a lot in Toronto. I prefer getting a third line center, someone who hits and is good defensively.
Bonafide left winger for the Oilers. I'm not saying Ryan Nugent-Hopkins isn't doing a good job. He's a center first, and I think it would be great to have him as your third line, and then you could roll even more time around. But Cahoon also has been pretty good, but you don't have a marquee left winger on the Oilers. The right side's pretty strong. Center, very deep. Defense has, done really well. I've been impressed despite the last couple games here, but and goaltending since Mike Smith has been back and Koskinen have been splitting the work again. It hasn't been that bad.
Do you think the Oilers could potentially trade for Taylor Hall?
Yes, if Buffalo eats some of their
his contract's not that. His contract isn't that much, right?
What is it?
It's
$8
million.
It's $8.
Is it? Oh, okay. It's more than I
Yeah.
thought. I thought it was less than that.
Yeah.
But you only pay on what's left of the season by the time the trade occurs.
Right.
So that's part of the thing. That
Right.
being said,
And then you could have them eat like 50% or something like that too.
But what are you going to give them?
James Neal. And
Adam, you're the GM, not me. I was just Taylor Hall, left wing, history. What would you give up for him to Adam, GM?
Right now, his worth isn't that much. I'd give up maybe a 3rd round draft pick.
You don't have a 3rd round draft pick.
we have it.
Fifth. Flames have it. There's the problem. They do not have draft picks this year.
Yeah.
Sunjay, what's your need? Your pressing need?
It'd be obvious to say maybe a coaching change at this point. I don't think Jeff Ward is getting it done. I don't think
Mike Babcock.
He's already said it before. Yeah.
What's that?
You mentioned it before. You thought.
Oh yeah, there is someone that is like Babcock, but he's better, and he lives in Alberta, and he's in a farm right now in Viking, and it's Daryl Sutter. Bring him in.
There's stories about Daryl. There's stories about Daryl too, man.
I'm sure there is. I'm sure there
is.
Hey
boys, second intermission. We're gonna play hard.
When you look at his teams, the worst thing Daryl Sutter did as GM was leave as the coach. All he did was win. He was 2 years at Calgary as a coach. They made the Cup Finals and they won the division. And then he's like, Jim Playfair, I want to focus on being a GM. That was the downfall of the Flames. It was never Sutter as a coach. And he goes to LA and he wins 2 Stanley Cups, and the Kings make the Western Conference Final in the 3rd year. So, it's I think, I would love to see Sutter back behind the Flames bench. I don't know if he wants to at this point in time in his life and his career, but if not Sutter, then there's other candidates like Bruce Boudreau. I think would.
I thought you were going to say Brent Sutter. And there's other candidates like
there's
Brent Sutter.
Lots of Sutters.
Brent. We've had Daryl, and we've had a 3rd, Brian. We've had 3 Sutters behind the bench. So
that family, eh? Wow.
What a family, yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, how many players made the NHL, and then their kids made the NHL as well, and it's quite an incredible story. Make a movie of that. I'd pay to watch that. It'd be, I don't know, who would you get to play Daryl Sutter? I don't know, but
oh god,
Billy Bob Thornton.
Yeah, you kind of swiped the next question, which was, if you change coaches, who would your next hire be? So since you've already answered yours there, Sunjay, we'll go to the other 2.
I want to change my coach. Oh, I like Keefe.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Do it as a non. Do it as
Dougie Gilmore. He's coaching in. Where's he coaching? The juniors right now.
Kingston, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think he's doing fairly well. And he's my favorite Leaf of all time. So I bring in Gilmore.
Assistant coach Wendell Clark.
What's that?
Did assistant coach Wendell Clark.
That's right.
Goalie coach Felix
Potvin. That's right. Yeah. Absolutely.
The band's back together. Mm-hmm. Adam?
That's a tough question. Mac T took him to Game 7. I didn't mind Mac T's trap. I had someone on the tip of my tongue. Oh God, I forget.
Wayne Gretzky.
No, Wayner was
Mark Messier.
No, it's not. No.
Ryan Smith.
Damn it! No, quit throwing names out there.
Prep for the show. Just kidding. I'll go ahead of you since you're still struggling.
Yeah.
One. I'll go with Bruce Boudreau. I think he deserves at least one more shot with the team because he's always been pretty successful everywhere he started. And Minnesota, they essentially gave him old, broken down pieces and said, make it go. And he tried for a long time, but I do think he deserves another shot.
Ted Nolan.
Yeah, that's a great one.
There you go. That's who I was thinking of, and I had it and I lost it. And yeah,
I have several of Grand Fear. I have several of these, but I think I'll just end with one more, which was a Sunjay one. And we talked about a Pond of Dreams commercial where the old generation and the new generation for the year 2000 met together on a pond and took a picture. And at the time, the the players involved were Bobby Orr, Gordie Howe. Oh, no, wasn't Orr? It was Gordie Howe, Messier, Gretzky.
No, it was Gordie Howe,
no Messier.
Lemieux, and Gretzky.
So Lemieux?
Oh, was it Lemieux? Okay.
Yeah, it was Lemieux.
Was it the French accent that threw you off?
I don't know.
Oh, Messier, he's really, maybe
He didn't
going
actually
into
watch the
politics. He's
Messier.
learning French now.
Well, I don't know. He really wrote out the fact that he had been successful for a long time. So you just kind of assume that he's there since he's top 4 in so many columns.
Yeah.
I mean, anyways, the point is, tell the rest of the story. Who is all there? Go ahead, since I'm doing a terrible job with it.
All right, so now the big question for the GM is, who would you get
Now
as a
I'm
new
host.
for Delayed Offside? Yeah. I'm gonna get some changes around
I didn't
here.
say ask the question. I said explain the information.
All right, so back in 2000, they did a commercial showcasing, the previous generation and the new generation. And in the previous generation, they had Bobby Orr, they had Mark Mess. No, wait, sorry, that was the old host. They had Gordie Howe, Wayne Gretzky, and Mario Lemieux. And then for the new generation, they had Eric Lindros. Happy birthday, Eric! It's his birthday today. They had Paul Kariya, Pavel Bure, and Jaromir Jagr. So my question was, if you were to do that commercial again today for 2021, who would be the 4 current NHL players that you would put on the ice for the current generation?
I'm trying to find my answer. I had it in our chat, and I'm going back through.
Okay,
Sunjay.
What's that?
Do you remember yours, Sunjay? Go ahead.
Oh yeah. So mine, Sid the Kid, Alexander Ovechkin. You would have, unfortunately, Connor McDavid, and you would have Matthews. Those would be my 4.
Really? You'd have Crosby and Ovechkin as the new generation?
Well,
that's the thing.
Yeah. Closing in.
I put on mine. I had 2 generations that I would put out there. I had.
Oh yeah, hey, I'm doing 2 generations, so mine's okay, but yours.
It is.
No,
yeah.
Just Sidney Crosby.
Let me show you how it's done, kid.
Oh, so you have Crosby too. Okay.
I have Crosby, Ovi, Kopitar, and Kane for the generation before. Generation after, I would say McDavid, Draisaitl, Matthews, and maybe Pettersson or Kachuk, Marner. McKinnon.
That would just be sticking people in the pond.
Oh my God!
This is what I had. I had McJesus, the Dangler, the Mustache, and McKinnon.
There we go. So I was just focusing on generation now. So obviously you have McDavid, the best player in the league.
That's right. Say it again.
He's the best player in the league.
Say it. I'm
not going to dispute that. I have Austin Matthews, the best goal scorer in the league. He is. Fight me on that. He's the best goal scorer in the league right now.
I can't because we'd get
COVID. Is Ovechkin sleeping? Who won the Art Ross last year?
Past 2 seasons, Matthews has the most goals.
Art Ross last year?
Sorry, I meant the Rocket. Who won the Rocket last year? Wasn't it Ovechkin?
Yeah, it was Ovechkin. But Austin Matthews is only 23. So, he's 23. So he's going to be the best. And he is the best now.
You said he was the best.
I would have next. Thinking in terms of marketability, Pasternak is very marketable. I don't know if you guys saw that interview with him with the pink shades, talking about how he was singing to Barbie Girl. So you gotta get him on camera. And then I went with Artemi Panarin, one of the best players in the league. And you want to have, in terms of marketability, one of the bigger teams, one of the bigger markets there, and that's the New York Rangers. So I'd have Panarin.
I went completely opposite of most of the stuff, but I went McDavid and Draisaitl, which I understand they're on the same team, but Lemieux and Jagr were on posters together too. And I said Matthews and McKinnon. McKinnon was my other one. But I don't know if McKinnon's is marketable as a star or if they just suck at marketing, which is also true for the NHL. But you really don't see him anywhere unless Sydney's already there, right?
Yeah, it's the only reason he's in commercials is because of Crosby and their buddies from Nova Scotia. So
doesn't it feel that way though? Like you don't see him. They don't really market him.
Well, I don't see any commercials with Connor McDavid. Like, how are you not promoting?
CCM has a couple.
I don't see very much though. Like most of the commercials I see is still Sidney Crosby.
Yep. Hey Connor, do you see this? Hey Connor, did you see this?
Yeah.
Hey Connor, have you seen
yeah,
this?
That
Oh,
commercial was
God.
bad.
I've seen more commercials with Ilya Mikheyev than Connor McDavid with his soup commercials.
Oh, it's because you like soup so much. But I told you not to bring that up on the podcast.
There were
Full of
toaster
soup.
commercials too. There were toaster commercials too. The Canadian Tire toast commercials.
With who, McDavid?
Yeah,
Yeah,
McDavid
him,
was in it.
Taves, and Gretzky were doing those. I have the Gretzky toaster.
The Taves one was hilarious. I would have bought it just on that whole commercial alone. He's like, I don't eat toast. He's got his shake. And he's got like a pipe and like a robe on, sitting in a chair. He's like,
They're
I don't
kinda
eat toast
sweet.
because it's grossly unhealthy for you. But he's like, if I did.
Yeah, they just burn a nice face on there. Nice
Yeah.
little Gretzky face on there. So,
Oh my God.
all right. Well, that brings the end of this 2.5 hour episode. So, thanks for listening. I would look at my watch, but it's past my regular time of bed, so it shuts itself off, and I can't even check certain things, which is always kind of fun. But thanks for listening. Like and subscribe. Check out Adam's reaction videos. Whoever keeps rewatching them, get them up to 200. Good for you. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
With that, that's this episode. I'm Baron.
I'm Adam.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Sunjay.
Thanks for listening. Have a good night.
Delayed.